What type of music improves productivity is the question that I will answer by the end of this show. Hello and welcome to another episode of The More You Know Mondays. The more you know, the more you grow. And this week on the show, I will be talking about Max and Keira's Law. But before we get into that, you know what we have to do. We have to start off this week right, start off the show right, with some positive vibes in the form of Monday's Affirmations. And this week, unlike any other week, we have to start with a quote. And this quote, the quote of the week, is by Alan Cohen. And it goes like this. Do not wait until the conditions are perfect to begin. Beginning makes conditions perfect. And I love this quote because it's kind of like my ethos in a way. In the sense of like just starting this podcast or starting my first podcast in the beginning, like I had this whole thing of, oh no, before I start I need to have a microphone. Oh no, I have to go to a studio, because watching other people do their podcasts, that's how I saw it had to be done. But it wasn't until I just decided, you know what? Why do I need to have these specific items to start my podcast? Like, my phone has a recorder. Why can't I just use my phone and just make my idea happen? And funnily enough, for the first, 3 years while I was doing my podcast on my phone, just recording it was pretty perfect, And it's only until I got to a point where I took a break and I was looking down at things of where I had things, and I was like, well, I can kind of develop things of where I am. And even now, I just have one microphone and I record the podcast in my bedroom. It's not designed or seems like it's perfect, but for what I'm doing right now, it's perfect. And I feel like this is a good quote for anyone that kind of gets inside of their head when they get an idea of something they want to do. Like, sometimes when you want to do something or you want something to happen, you don't have to have all the quote unquote perfect things around you, or the perfect items or the perfect utensils to make that, what can I call it? That coffee. The perfect coffee or the perfect meal. Sometimes you can see what else you have in the cupboard, and maybe you can mix out some ingredients in this. What could I be making? I can't think of anything in my head other than a spaghetti bolognese. So I don't know. Put it in the sense of you're going for a meal, and not you're going for a meal, you're making a meal for, say, a dinner party, and you had only planned for 3 guests. So you made a meal that was only for 3 people, but one of your guests brought a +1 without you knowing about it. Those circumstances aren't perfect for 4 people. But I'm pretty sure you could make that meal stretch for a 4th person if you wanted to. And that's kind of what making that perfect situation. It may not be perfect, but you can make it perfect. It's just all about how you figure it out, how you think outside of the planned conditions that you had in your head, and how you improvise a solution in that moment. But I think for my intro thoughts and my Monday affirmations, I think that's where we will stop them. But I think what you should take away from this, if anything, is perfect. There's no such thing as perfect, first of all. So once you take that out of the occlusion. What? Take that out of the equation. I got there in the end. Once you take that out of the equation, it's no longer something that you have to worry about. You don't have to always be top of the class or top thinking. Like, you can just make something and see how it goes, and then sculpt it as you're going along to sculpt it into what you want it to be, as opposed to you having the end product right at the beginning and then there's nowhere to go. So my Monday affirmations are, if you have an idea, I think I've said this multiple times. I haven't. No, if you have an idea, don't wait for the perfect situation to make it for you to bring it out. If that's what you're waiting for, if that's what's holding you back, no, just do it. And then you can see how great it can be and then improve it. I hope that statement made sense. But anyway, moving on to the show. So as I said, I'm going to be talking about Max and Keira's law in this episode. And for anyone that doesn't know what that is, it is basically before I start into that, when I found out about this law change and everything like that, this is kind of the fact finding out that inspired me to start this show. It was finding that out. It was when, I think it was during the first lockdown or whatever. I think, during the first lockdown, and it was around maybe April times, and I think I remember my mum just saying to me, the organ donation law is changing soon. And I was like, what do you mean it's changing? She was like, yeah, it's changing. And I was just like, what do you mean? I didn't know about that. And she was like, oh, well, I thought everyone knew. And I was like, nah, something like this that's changing. Like, I'm sure they should send, if a law changed, they should send me a text message to my phone, like, letting me know, like, that there's been a new law change and I should look into it. But this seems like it's been swept under the rug a bit, but it's a big thing, and it has, obviously, a lot of people do know about it because it's life changing. But I just felt like when I found out about it, I felt like, how could I have missed this from happening? So it sparked me to think, when I started telling people, like, did you know this? They were like, no, I had no idea about this. I was like, whoa, there's more people that need to know about little things that change that we might not be aware about happening because other things were happening at the same time. So I think if the pandemic wasn't in kind of full swing around May times, April, March, when the law was coming into fruition, it would have been more of a bigger thing in the news, I guess. But I wanted to share it because I think it's a beautiful story. And also just the fact of this new law change that affects a lot of people, but then at the same time, if you've never thought about it, maybe it doesn't. But because I'm just speaking about it and not mentioning what it is, let's get into it. So the Max and Keira law basically Max and Keira's law is basically, the organ donation law has changed. And it's changed in the way of consent. So, organ donation is presumed that you consent to organ donation unless you opt out. So, how that has changed from what it was before. Before, you had to opt into organ donation. And it was this thing, and there was loads of forms that used to come around, and you would decide whether you want to opt into organ donation. And it was something I'd never really thought about at the same time, I still haven't really thought about it properly. But it gives me time to, I guess, think about it. And at the same time, if I don't ever think about it, or if it doesn't become of a big pressing thing to me, then it would be presumed that I do consent to organ donation. Which, in a grand scheme of things, I am pretty much okay with, to be honest. It's not something I feel like I would have to rush into change. But maybe there are people out there that now hearing this, that we now live in a system where if you want to not be involved in organ donation, then you have to opt out. Maybe there will people be rushing to grab a form. I don't know. Or maybe it's just something that we need to talk about, and we need to be okay to talk about, But let's get into why it's called Max and Keira's Law. Because that's the most interesting part about it, really. Oh, and before I do continue, I think it's valid to mention that, you have to opt out, or if you're a part of an excluded group, then you're not included in you're presumed of consent. And the excluded group would include children under 18, people who lack the mental capacity to understand the changes for a significant period before their death, or people who have not lived in England for at least 12 months before their death. Which is kind of, I don't know, so if you haven't lived here for 12 months, or you don't have the mental capacity to give consent to it, or you're a child under 18, then that seems fair, that they are excluded from the group who are presumed of consent. So this law is named after Keira and Max Johnson, in the sense of, how do I start this? So basically, Keira, her mother and her brother were all in a really bad car accident where, unfortunately, Keira didn't make it. While they were in the hospital, the organ donation team came in and they asked the family if it was something they had thought about their daughter donating her organs. I watched this really interesting news report. It was almost brought a tear to my eye just watching it. Cause it's just such a beautiful story. But there was this moment where the news report obviously asked the question, and the mother and father both said that their daughter Keira was just a giving person. She was the type of person that would just, if someone else needed something, she would fight and she would give it away. And their fan, once when the organ donation team came to them and asked them if they would be okay with giving up her organs for donation, they agreed to it. And in doing so, Keira saved 4 lives with her heart, liver, kidneys, and pancreas. And one of the people that she saved was a boy named Max Johnson. And he had been waiting on the heart transplant list for I think they said on 196 days he was waiting for a new heart, because he just kept suffering heart failures. And it was Keira's heart that saved Max Johnson. And in the report, in the video that I watched, which was what made me feel so I don't know, it was quite, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to explain the feeling I had, but just hearing, he would be 12 years old, or 13, turning 13 this year, maybe. He was 12 last year when this happened. But hearing him speak about how while he was waiting and he got a hug from his mum, he felt like that was going to be the last hug he was ever going to get from his mum and dad. And then him even saying that he thought it was it for him until that heart came into his life. And that was the heart that saved him now. And he's still alive today. And that story was what inspired the law to be named after them in commemoration. Which I think is a beautiful story, that it actually got passed into law, and the law has been named after them. And sometimes it feels like you need to see acts of heroism like that. I don't even know what to say, really. I'm kind of speechless even when I just kind of go over the story or even just think about it. It's just, any one of you, or even myself, if this law hadn't changed, which is kind of forcing me to not have a choice, but at the same time, like I said, if you haven't thought about it, and what is the alternative? The alternative is that my body goes and rots in the ground and all my organs go to waste, I guess. Or I could die and one of my body parts could help another person live longer. Which in a sense means that I would never die, if I want to look at it like that, because although my outer shell would fade away, but my organs would go on to help someone else, it kind of feels like your legacy lives on, even though you're no longer here, rather, on the planes of existence. Because, truth be told, we don't actually know what happens when we die. We just know that we usually have funerals for our bodies, but maybe, I don't know, I'm just guessing. Maybe, because it's something I have thought about recently, about what could be on the other side. If our bodies are just shells, and our brain is like what keeps our shell together, in a sense, and these are loosely connected things. I know your brain doesn't keep your body together, although in a sense it does, because it's what your brain is what helps you move and makes decisions for you. So I guess it kind of keeps you together in the kind of metaphorical kind of way. So, and there's always talk about the soul. What if the soul is kind of like your essence? Then, and it's not something that's physical on your body that you can point out, yeah, that's where your soul is. Or you can't point inside, oh yeah, that's where you can, so you can point inside and say your soul is within you, but you don't, it's not something, I guess, that you can you can point out, yeah, that's the best way to put it. So with that way of thinking, maybe your soul is something that can live on. And also with that line of thinking, this soul, maybe there's something else on the other side that where your soul passes on to. But you won't know until you pass on to that side. I don't know. It's just my thought process. I've been thinking about that recently, and now you get insight into my thoughts. But back to the topic at hand, organ donation. If it's something you haven't thought about, this is the time to now think about it. Because, as I mentioned before, although it's like you don't have a choice in the matter because it's presumed consent, if you're not in one of the excluded sections, it's a time where you can think, okay, cool, if this is not something that I don't want, then you can opt out. But if it's something that you haven't thought about, or you're, I guess, okay with, then you don't need to do anything. You just live your life as normal. You don't have to live your life any differently to how you actually live your life now. It's just a thing of, if you do pass away, then your organs will be donated to help someone else.
She obviously failed a brain dead test. The organ donation team did come in and just said, is it something that you would thought of in the past? So I didn't feel pressured at any point. So I just looked at Keira and thought, if Keira was given the option, I'm sure she would have said yes. Because it was in her nature, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that's just how she is. Yes, give this to whoever, you know, she's just a kind child. It's tragic, it's heart-wrenching that we've lost Keira, but unfortunately there was nothing that could be done for Keira. But the fact that she's gone on and saved 4 other people is absolutely amazing.
I didn't think I'd make it. I hugged Mum and Dad thinking it's the last hug with my parents.
It just felt really cruel because that sparky, active little boy became completely constrained by a failing body.
This thing goes in right there.
They fitted a mechanical pump that goes in the heart and effectively whirs around, and it whirs the blood around your body. It kept Max relatively safe whilst he waited for a new heart. Our thoughts about the donor at the time was an overwhelming sense of deep gratitude that the word thank you didn't do justice to. They've thought of others at that really difficult moment.
And as I said before, that's why I played this clip, because I could only explain so much. I think their parents explain things, and Max himself talk about it in a better way than I could, just because it makes me feel so emotional just thinking about it. Thinking about how hard it must have been for Keira's family to make that decision, but then also at the same time, how the kindness and generosity that they have in their family to be okay to give away their daughter's organs. But it's not like in a sense of giving away, it's more of in a sense of giving to help others. And she did. She helped 4 people just from her young life. She was 9 years old when she died. And she was able to help 4 other people with her one life, which is amazing. And if you think about that in the grand scheme of things, if nobody opts out and it's only the people in the excluded groups who don't have the level of understanding to give consent, that's okay. But if nobody opts out, then your one life could save, I don't know, how many organs do you have in your body? You know what I mean? So I haven't looked that up. It's just a question that popped into my head just now. But again, I'll look this up after the show. But if you know the answer, send me a DM. Like, how many organs do you have in your body that can be reused to help other people? And the more the more I say these questions to myself, the more I wanted to look it up. So I did. And here are the facts. So if you die and you want to donate your organs, the organs that you can donate include kidneys, both of your kidneys, your liver, both of your lungs, your heart, your pancreas, and your intestine. And then also in 2014, hands and faces were added to the organ transplant list. And if you're a living donor, you can donate one of your kidneys, one of your lungs, a portion of your liver, your pancreas, or your intestine. So quite a lot can be donated to help another person. So what was that? Your 2 kidneys, that's your liver, your 2 lungs, your pancreas, your intestines, your hands, and your face. So that's like 10 organs you can donate to someone after you die, which could help give them a better quality of life. So you could help 10 different people with your one body. When you put it into that kind of scheme of things, like, it seems like kind of a no-brainer. Yeah, of course. I don't mind if I can save 10 other people, a possibility of 10 other people, possibly less, but still, I could save 10 people if I have functionable organs that I can donate after I die. And a part of me will live on in someone else forever until, and essentially forever. I mean, unless, say my heart, say for example, it's my heart, say, and I die and my heart goes to someone else and it avails someone else to live a really long life. And then when they die again and they choose to, they don't choose to opt out, then my heart again will be donated again and again and again and again until it can't be used again, I guess. So with that line of thinking, it's kind of pretty cool. And I'm, after doing this research and looking into things and hearing the story over and over again through my research, yeah, I don't see a reason why I need to officially opt out of organ donation when I die at this moment in time, but that's how I feel right now. I don't know if my thoughts might change when I grow older, or as my mind develops as I go through life. Because your mind, I assume my mind is always growing and changing as I grow and change. So, yeah, but, it gives you something to think about. What do you want to do? What do you want to do with your organs after you die? Do you want to opt out because you have another plan or idea? Maybe it's part of your religion. I don't know. Or do you not want to do anything and just, live life, not think about it, and whatever happens when you die happens, because I guess you're dead, so I guess, not that it doesn't matter, but it's not something that you have control over once you've died. You don't have a say afterwards, so why not use my organs? It's just how I think about it anyway. But I have a question to answer at the end of this show, which is, what type of music is known to improve productivity? Now, when I saw this, when this question came to me through this random fact that I read, and the random fact that I read was that video game music could help improve productivity and be good for working. And the reason why it said it would be good for helping you work is because video game music is designed not to break your focus. And I thought, I never thought about it like that, but yeah, when you play video games, like, they have music in the background, but it's not like distracting music. It's just music that kind of goes with the game. And it obviously doesn't break your focus because it's something that you listen to on a constant loop over and over again. So it must be to help you play or focus better, unless the music changes for a specific reason. But it will never knock your focus. You can always stay on track when you're playing a game. It's never that, like, the music is so amazing that it distracts you from the game. And if that ever does happen, you're playing a terrible game. Because there's no way the music should be better than the gameplay. But anyway, I found that there were 6 types of music that are known to dramatically improve productivity. So if you're looking to improve productivity while listening to music, make sure you're listening. So number 1 on the list is classical music. So there has been lots of research that has gone into this, and they have long claimed that listening to classical music can help people perform tasks more efficiently. So basically the theory is, which has been dubbed the Mozart effect. Basically, it suggests that listening to classical composers can enhance brain activity and act as a catalyst for improving health and well-being. So there's been a lot of studies that have gone into this to confirm that listening to classical music does enhance someone's ability to manipulate shapes and solve puzzles. So if you're looking to be more focused while you're working and classical music isn't your jam, well, maybe you should start listening to some classical music while you're banging out some tasks, like maybe you're doing schoolwork, or you've got like, not school, what is it called? Like, I don't know, just work to do. Like, you're writing an email and you're writing your email with Netflix on in the background. And you just really want to focus this time when you're doing your work. So instead you just go on Spotify and you find yourself that classical playlist and you just get working. There's been research done into this, so it's a proven effect, and it's called the Mozart effect. So if you're listening to classical music while doing work and someone's like, turn down that classical music, you can be like, well, actually, I'm trying to create the Mozart effect. So number 2 is nature music. So apparently, listening to the sounds of nature, like waves crashing or babbling brook, has been shown to enhance cognitive function and concentration. So nature sounds work best when they're soothing sounds, such as flowing water, rain falls. Sometimes rain can be soothing to some people. Not something like nature noises like birds screeching or something like that. Just like natural sounds like, I don't know, like the wind blowing. Not violent wind blowing, but you know what I mean? Like on a summer's day, you got the... Hope that effect comes off well in the microphone. Where you got like the wind blowing and, I don't know, like there's birds, but they're cheeping, they're like lightly chirping like it's the morning, and I don't know, like there's like those things that like apps that have, nature sounds that are for helping you go to sleep. So you can use the same way of thinking and use these nature sounds while you're doing work to improve your cognitive function and concentration. So there's research has discovered that natural sounds boost your moods and focus. The studies found that employees were more productive and had more positive feelings when nature sounds were playing in the background while they worked, which is interesting, kind of in the sense of like people that live in the countryside and they're all around nature all the time, they're sometimes you find that they're more upbeat and more happy than, for example, like, I don't know how to put it into an example. what I was going to say, but maybe I can, in the sense of, there's not, I don't know. There is more, I don't know. I guess people in the countryside, they have more access to nature than we do in the city. So they're able to breathe in, they have, I don't know, I guess fresher air because they're more connected to the nature and stuff like that. Maybe this isn't a good metaphor. Maybe you live in the city and you're very happy with all your nature sounds. But like, I guess in the sense of, if you lived in a cave, maybe this is a better scenario. If you lived not in a cave, but in a panic room would be better scenario. Say you lived in a panic room, and in your panic room, you didn't have any, like, no windows, no sounds from the outside, and it was just you silently with your thoughts all day. Like, that would make you go stark crazy, I guess. But if, while you were doing work, like dead silence, just nothing, but just, I guess, knowing or hearing, even like, I guess in my room, I hear like the winds from outside while I'm recording this podcast, and you might not hear it so much in the audio because I edit it out, but just hearing the noise from the outside, I've only just thought about it once, now I've read this, but it's helped with my focus through recording this show because I constantly hear the wind and the outside noise, and it's not anything jarring, and it's just, I know it's there, but I've never thought about it just until I read that. Yeah. It has helped me focus, just hearing the noise. It helps me go and it helps me concentrate, and so that I'm not distracted by anything else other than the task at hand and creating this show. So number 3 is cinematic music. So an intense film score can make you feel like you're doing something inspiring or important. Yes, 100%. I agree with that. When like just the dun 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 dun. Yeah, it makes you feel like dun 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 dun. Yeah, puts you in like a certain mood or a certain frame. So even if you're chipping away at your to-do list, or you're doing like something really like what can I call it, like jarring. Yeah, jarring is the best word. An epic soundtrack playing in the background makes even the most mundane tasks feel like they are so much more epic and life-changing. Like I said, like that little thing that I was humming. Dun 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 dun. Imagine doing work, yeah. And in the background you just hear dun 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 dun. And it's just, I don't know, maybe not that. But imagine it was some epic film score. And you heard that in the back while you were cleaning the dishes. I'm pretty sure, like, in your head, like, it would be like, I don't know, like, some epic scene you would have invented in your head while you were cleaning the pots. I don't know, that's what I would think about anyway. So, this is one of those things that is also proven to heighten concentration and productivity. So a cinematic film score can empower and uplift your spirit and brighten your mood. Like I said, just cheers you up because you think of something else. So if you're feeling tired or drained, try listening to some epic style cinematic music to boost your mood. Hey man, you don't know unless you try. The article suggests that some film scores to try what listening to the movie score to Inception, or to The Social Network, or to the movie score of Moon, Lawrence of Arabia, Cloud Atlas, Amelia, or The Bourne Identity. The Inception soundtrack is pretty dope. I might try that out. And Bourne Identity soundtrack is very like epic because like loads of things always happening, so I might try that one out as well. I haven't seen The Social Network, so I can't comment on that. And Moon is a dope. Yeah, actually, yeah, I remember seeing Moon. The score is so like spacey and epic, like because it's about the moon and space. So yeah, it's a worthwhile try out. I'm definitely going to try these things out because it sounds like a test that I might put it to. A test. I hope you understand what I mean. A test that I might put it to. And the point that sparked it all off, video game music. So, like I said, it might seem strange, but listening to music composed from video games can be a great tool to help you focus. Because every element of a video game is designed to create an enhanced gaming experience for all the senses. And the music is another component that is specifically created or put into a game to help you focus on your task without being distracted by the actual sounds. Which, like I was talking about in the beginning of this, when I came into this, is something you wouldn't have thought about, or something that's strange, but yeah, every aspect of a game would be designed to help you. Even when you feel like a game is against you or it's really hard, every aspect of the game, whatever you have to use, is all made to help you focus on the task of completing the game. So they wouldn't put some crazy music in there to distract you from the game unless they know the game isn't very good. So they put the dopest soundtrack in there and it distracts you from the game, so you don't ever complete that game. You just find yourself like just grooving along to that soundtrack, just like, jeez, what was I meant to be doing playing this game? Oh, nah, just And you just like, you have your character just stood there and he's just like, or he or she's just stood there, or whatever it is, an orc or a gremlin. I don't know. You could be a robot. You could be anything in a video game. It's just whatever the game designer has designed for you, whatever playground the game designer has designed for you to experience. They say that generally music that has no lyrics or human voices are fairly fast paced to keep you moving forward. Many video games involve solving puzzles, and dealing with intense situations. So you're subjecting yourself to simulated stressful challenges. Video games have invested a lot of research into figuring out the perfect balance to the music and how much they use of it. So video game music is composed in a way that keeps you engaged as you elevate and navigate your way through the different levels. And the video game soundtracks that you should check out, this is on this list, but I agree with them wholeheartedly because I'm a gamer. So the Legend of Zelda or Ocarina of Time, that soundtrack, dope. Assassin's Creed 2 soundtrack is sick. Skyrim soundtrack is sick as well. The Halo soundtrack is sick as well. Final Fantasy, they say Final Fantasy 7, but I say any Final Fantasy game, the soundtrack was and is sick. And yeah. And number 5 on the list is music between 50 and 80 beats per minute, which again seems a bit strange. Why music speed so slow? But some research has suggested that it's not the type of music that's important to helping you stay focused and productive, but the tempo of the music that you're listening to. So studies have found that music with 50 to 80 beats per minute can enhance and stimulate creativity and learning. Interesting. So there's Dr. Emma Gray, a cognitive behavioral therapist, worked with Spotify to research the benefits of certain types of music. She found that listening to music at a set BPM between 50 and 80 beats per minute is a range that puts the brain into an alpha state. Interesting. Pretty interesting, that is. So, if you were smart about this, or you were a music producer, what you would do is you would create music specifically at between 50 and 80 beats per minute. And then you would have the perfect BPM, whatever genre of music, to like put people's brains into alpha state all the time whenever they listen to your groove. So if you could work out a way to fit yourself into 50 to 80 BPM all day, every day, then like you would be the perfect like artist, because you're like perfectly motivate people with your music. So when you're awake, we are typically in a state of mind which is known as beta, as a heightened state of alertness, where our brainwave activity is between 14 and 30 hertz. When our brain slows between 7 and 14 hertz, which I assume is the 50 to 80 beats per minute, we're in a more relaxed alpha state of our mind that allows us to be more receptive and open and less critical. Interesting. This state of mind is what scientists associate with activities that involve our imagination, memory, intuition. Basically, when you have that eureka moment is when your brain waves activity is between 7 and 14 hertz. Basically, if you've ever been like listening to music and you find, while you're listening to that music or that song, sometimes like you just find yourself in like just deep thought about something else that's not pertaining to like the music you're listening to, and you just feel, but you're still listening to the music, but you're thinking about something completely different. Like that is the alpha state. And thinking about it now, like I do that all the time. I don't know if it's to do with the music that I'm listening to or anything, but sometimes I'm just listening to something and I'll just be like, go into some deep thought about something. And I'm just like, well, hang on, wait. Also in my head, I'll be thinking, wait, I'm sure I'm listening to music, but I've just, my mind's just spun off into something else. So that's pretty interesting. So, question to any of my listeners, have you ever found yourself in the alpha state before? The article says that, some of the most popular songs that are in between the 50 to 80 beats per minute range would be Justin Timberlake's Mirrors, Last Goodbye by Jeff Berkeley, The Lazy Song by Bruno Mars, and Chasing Pavements by Adele. So if you've ever listened to any of those songs and you found yourself in deep thought about something while not actually listening to the music, then that's the reason why you've unlocked your brain and you've gone from beta to the alpha state, and you're now thinking about something that's real deep, but it's not connected to the music, but the music is still playing in your ears and you still hear the music. So it means that you've tuned out of the music, but while still being tuned into the music. It's crazy. And the number 6, which is the last type of music that can help you focus and improve productivity, is your favorite type of music. So obviously you probably have thought about this before, but studies have found that putting on your favorite type of music can help improve your mood and your productivity. So you've probably found this before. You're listening to your favorite jam and you're just singing along, dancing around, and you could have had a bad day, but the moment you put that on, everything around you just seems so much more better. Or you're I'm going to put it into cleaning the dishes, right? Because cleaning the dishes, I find it quite therapeutic for me. It really relaxes me. And when I listen to music while I'm cleaning the dishes and I'm just singing along, it just, sets up my mood real right. So, that is the 6 types of music that help improve productivity. So if you've ever found yourself, what is the word? I can't think of the word, and I do it a lot sometimes, procrastinating. If you ever find yourself procrastinating while you should be doing work, try one of those 6 types of music out and put it in the background and see if it improves your productivity. And with that, I will call that the end of the show. So I hope you've enjoyed episode 9 of the More You Know Mondays. And thank you for listening if you've got this far into the show. If I should have probably mentioned this at the beginning of the show, but we're at the end and we have to try things sometimes to see how they work. So if you have listened, if this is the first episode that you've ever listened to, then welcome to the More You Know Mondays family. There are 8 other episodes that you can also check out. Last week I done the episode on Sylvester Stallone. The week before that I did the episode on Mansa Musa. And the episode before that, episode 6, was on the internet. And that is as far back as my brain will allow me to remember currently. But if you haven't checked out any of those episodes, please check them out and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.